So the examining your assumptions is a massive one, because you will sit, most of us, and will say, well, that can't be changed, or it is just the way it is, or. And the bottom line is you convince yourself there's one right way, and you don't think about your other options. You know, if you think there's a default that something can't be done differently, then you've boxed yourself into a corner. And so this is a massive piece. And again, if you're talking to other people who are just like you, y'all are probably going to have the same assumptions. When I came into healthcare, I was relatively new to healthcare, and which makes me relatively atypical. I'm not clinical. A lot of people are. And I ask different questions because I don't see the world the same way. And so it can be a huge benefit to find and reach out to people who don't see the world the way you do and ask different questions, because they'll pop things for you. So one of the big pieces for me on assumptions is really, what do you see? If you don't see something as an option, it does not exist in your world, and therefore it is not. Anybody know what this is? And if you say a flower, I'll laugh hysterically, but yes. Particular type of flower? Chrysanthemum, yes. Mum. It is actually a Gerber daisy. Now, and I am the photographer, and I can tell you it didn't look gray in real life. So as a photographer, you have to have a point of view. Right? You look at something and you go, what is it I want to capture about this thing? And if you look at images, a lot of times you will see that people take them from the same vantage point. So a lot of adults take the images from here, and they all look the same because that's how we normally view the world. It's really jarring if a photographer takes it from a really different perspective, because you're like, wow, I wouldn't have thought to do that, or oh, it looks really different from there. So part of the exercise here is to intentionally broaden what you see. And I was at a photography workshop, and it was a gentleman who did a lot of celebrity portraits. I don't do portraits, so I have great respect for people that do portraits. And he said, you know, whenever I take an image, I try and get at least 3 or 4 that are a completely different perspective. And if you're talking about a human, it's beyond just the face and the side and the sitting down, the laying down. It's like, what can you do that really captures that person differently? And so I have intentionally played with that myself to challenge myself to push beyond, oh, well, I just see it this way. And so here is also a Gerber daisy. It looks very different, but it's still a Gerber daisy. And I saw it that way as well as I saw the other one. And then this last one is also a Gerber daisy. So how do these different images relate to what we're talking about now? Because I didn't put them up here just to show you pictures of flowers. What's the point? Yeah. Different perspectives. And it's about being intentional. Because left to our own devices, especially with the pace, especially with the noise, we see things the same way and we just go. And so you have to find your own pause button to say, okay, how can I look at this situation differently? How can I broaden? Somebody else had mentioned earlier when we were talking about the railroad tracks, one of the problems is the railroad tracks is they do this to you. And they convince you that this is the only right way. So what you're trying to do is do this. And whatever it takes for you to think about how can I look at this differently, whether again it's you or whether you go to somebody else who you know sees the world differently, probably a person who makes you crazy is good, right? Because they see it so differently than you.